Hi there friends, and welcome to my channel, Cat's Paw Canteen. I'm Kenny, and today you are in for a very special holiday treat. Before I get started, I'd like to wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Now today's recipe is a very special recipe. Throughout the years, I've had friends and family members ask me, Ken, how do you make your Japanese ramen? Well, today's the day I'm finally going to make that recipe video. Now, if you ask me, is this 100% authentic Japanese ramen? I'm going to tell you right now, it's a semi-authentic Japanese ramen because I use a special hack to make it taste as close as I can to home for me. So come follow me into the kitchen and I'm going to show you how I make it. Before we get to the cooking, let me talk about ramen for a bit here. Ramen is a dish made up of 3 different parts: the soup, the noodles, and the toppings. Now, the soup is the lifeblood of the entire dish. It has the flavor, the boldness of it, okay? And then the noodles is the body. You need the noodles, you need to get filled up, right? And lastly, the toppings. The toppings is the good personality. You know, it makes it fun. It makes the whole dish fun and pop to life. Now let me talk about the noodles real quick, the body of the dish. What I use is something that is readily available in a lot of grocery stores these days. It's this thing right here. It's called Chuka soba, which literally translate to Chinese noodles, and that's also another name for ramen in Japan. We call it Chuka soba. You could find this in your local grocery store in the Asian aisle. I've seen it in Walmart's, Target's, Albertsons, and if you're in the military community like I am, you could find this at your commissary as well in the Asian aisles. Another reason why I like to use these noodles, besides being readily available in a lot of stores, is that this is very close to flavor and texture of a lot of ramen noodles that's used in the restaurant. Now, if you could find something better, the pre-cooked noodles at your local Asian market, that would taste a lot better, so I recommend using that. But if you can't, or if you don't have an Asian market close by, you could definitely find this, or you could just hunt one down on Amazon as well. What I don't recommend though is using these types of noodles. Now they're delicious in their own way, but for today, if you're going for the semi-authentic Japanese ramen, please use this or something better, okay? The pre-cooked ones. Now let's talk about the toppings real quick. For the toppings, you could use anything that you'd like. You could use chicken if you want to, pork, green onions, regular onions, hard-boiled eggs, soft-boiled eggs, whatever you'd like. But today, with my ramen hack, I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite toppings, which is the char pork. And that is actually going to also help me in making the soup as well. Alrighty, so I hope you guys have your chef hats on. Let's go back to the kitchen and get it started. First thing we need to do is prep the pork belly to make my char siu. Now, I've already cut it in half because it's going to be easier to cook this way. So let's go ahead to the stove and fry this up real quick. Okay, we got our frying pan heated up, and now we're going to go ahead, place the pork belly skin down first. I'm not using any oil because there's a lot of grease coming out of here. All we're doing is frying up the sides. We're not going to cook it all the way in the frying pan. And go ahead, flip over. We're going to cook each side for about 1 to 2 minutes on high heat. Alright, now that we've got color on all the sides, we're going to take it off the stove. I've let the pork belly cool down just a little, so get out a large Ziploc bag and place in your pork bellies in there. There we go. Next, we're going to add some flavor to the pork belly. I'm going to add in a cup of sake and about half a cup of mirin and about a half a cup of soy sauce as well. maybe a little more. There we go. And for the char siu, you could add sugar or honey. I like to add honey because it tenderizes the meat. Just about 2 tablespoons or so. Should do it. A little bit more. There we go. A light drizzle of sesame oil. And I got here 2 slivers of ginger. You could leave the skin on. And 3 cloves of crushed garlic. And I'm going to take 1 stalk of green onion, just like that. Just fold it and toss it in there. Okay. And then a little seasoning of salt and pepper as well, just to add some flavor. And now, the next part you don't have to do if you don't like seafood flavors, but I like to add a little dried kelp in there as well. Just put it on the side there. And if you don't want to use kelp, that's perfectly fine. You could use like oyster sauce instead. I'm not going to use oyster sauce today, but I like using the kelp. And then we're just going to gently massage that just a tad bit before we seal it. Let out as much air as possible. There we go. And you can marinate this overnight before you do the next part as well. Well, I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to get right to the cooking. Now, how are we going to cook this? We're going to put it in the rice cooker. This is one of my hacks here. I've put some hot water in the rice cooker pot, and I'm going to just place this right in there. Make sure the seal part doesn't come undone. It's on there tightly. And we're gonna go ahead and put this in the rice cooker, but if you don't have a rice cooker, what you can do is put all these ingredients that's in the Ziploc here into a little pot and just simmer it for about 5-6 hours or so. You could also do this in an Instapot or even a slow cooker, a crock pot as well. But today, I'm using the rice cooker. That's what I like to use for this one. My rice cooker's in a weird spot in the kitchen here, so I've got to duck and cover. Make sure that that doesn't get too much in the way. Close. And I'm just going to click on the Keep Warm button. And this will cook it up nice and even and make it tender when it comes out. We're going to put it on Keep Warm, and it's going to cook for 6 hours. So make sure it's in there for at least 6 hours. Now while the pork belly is cooking, let's talk about the soup. The soup is my main hack for this ramen recipe. So I'm going to teach you how to make a quick but delicious broth to make my semi-authentic ramen. Get out a medium-sized pot, and we're going to put in some chicken broth. Yeah, this is my hack for it. We're going to use some chicken broth. Now, the chicken broth that you buy in the US or in Italy, it's going to be more for like chicken noodle soup and other more westernized soups. It's not really an Asian chicken broth. So how do we make this broth a bit more Asian flavored? First off, I'm using a total of about 3.5 cups of chicken broth here. You're going to add 1 green onion. I'm going to snap it into little pieces here. 2 slivers of ginger and 2 cloves of garlic that's been crushed. Now this right here will already make a delicious Asian flavored chicken broth, but if you want to go extra steps, you can. And what I do is I add some dried kelp. Now, like I said, you don't have to copy this part. Not everyone likes the seafood flavored broth, so you don't have to, but I am going to today. I'm going to add just 1 kombu or kelp inside. And another thing you could add is katsuobushi. This is dried shaved bonito flakes. It's the fish flakes. This adds tremendous amount of umami into your soup. Now, you could use this if you want to, or keep it simple by using something called hondashi. Hondashi is a bonito soup stock. So it's essentially this, but a powderized version that just melts inside the soup. And today that's what I'm going to be using. I'm just going to be using about a teaspoon of hondashi. As for finding this hondashi, you probably won't find it at a local grocery store. You might have to go to an Asian supermarket to find it. I had to buy this one off of Amazon, so I'll put a link in my description for this video. So if you want to buy this and try it out, check out that link. And I always put my bonito flakes in a small little container, and just a couple pinches should do. About a teaspoon to teaspoon and a half or so. And all we're doing is let this come to a boil and letting it rest for a bit afterwards. Now that it's come to a boil, scrape out some of the scum, this foam here, and turn off the heat. And go ahead, take out all the solid items out of here. And there you have a simple mixed broth for your ramen. It has been a good 6 hours since we've last visited the Char, and look at that, it's all nice and cooked. Let's go ahead and take it out of the Ziploc. There we go. Put it in a Tupperware for now. As for the char siu, you could place this in the refrigerator until it's time to serve. You could serve this cold too if you want to, because once you slice it and put it into the hot soup, it starts to warm up in the soup. So that's what I'm going to do for now, is put a lid on it and keep it in the refrigerator until it's time to serve. And we're not going to let all this goodness go to waste as well. This is a lot of flavor packed in here. So what we're going to do, let's put a strainer here, a little colander there, and go ahead and dump out the contents. There we go. When it comes to the soup for ramen, you could try out different flavors. There are 4 main flavors in Japan that's well known, and the first one is probably soy sauce. And from the region of Japan where I'm from the Yokohama region, which is in Kanagawa, Japan, and they are well known for their soy sauce based soup. So the soy sauce flavor is one of the most basic flavors. Then if you go up north, you'll have your miso flavored soup. When you go down south, you'll have your pork bone broth, which is tonkotsu soup. And you also have your salt base, which is pretty much the most basic flavor as well. It's more about the broth rather than the flavor. But as for today, we're going with the soy sauce base soup. Now all I'm going to do is put this on a stove, heat it up, and let it condense just a little bit. So bring it to a boil, and then we're going to lower the temperature. So it's just gotten to a boil, so go ahead and lower the temperature and let it simmer for about 10 minutes or so. Now I've let it simmer for a good 10 minutes, so I'm going to put a lid on it and turn off the fire and just let it rest until it's time to serve. I've let the char siu rest for a good 30 minutes or so. It is still jiggly. That's what you want to see in char siu. Let's go ahead and slice. Oh yeah, that is nice and juicy. There, you can see all the juice running out when you push it down. And as a chef's privilege, I'm gonna give this a good old taste test here. Oh my gosh. So tender, it's so good. Now it's time to boil our noodles. So go ahead, place your noodles in there. 1 pack yields 2 of these, so go ahead and boil them for a good 3 minutes or so, or cook them to your desired firmness. Some people like the noodles softer, some people like them harder. Really depends. Make sure to stir it around so it doesn't clump up. While the noodles are cooking, let's go ahead and prep our soup. I've had some hot water in this bowl to keep the bowl warm. That way the ramen doesn't cool down before you eat it. So let's go ahead and dump the water out real quick. And I don't want the soup to be overly salty, so add in your flavor a little at a time. I'm gonna add probably about 2.5 tablespoons or so for now. And then go ahead and add in your broth. 1 ladle, 2 ladles, and 3 ladles. Give it a good mix and taste. I'm going to add in 1 more tablespoon of the flavor here. 1 more taste. Perfect. Okay, looks like the noodles have cooked, so let's go ahead and drain it. Okay, and go ahead and place in your noodles into your soup. Gotta save some for my daughter. Let's make it pretty by folding it up and then down. There we go. And put in your toppings. Got the char pork. There we go. Made some soft-boiled eggs as well earlier. Some green onions. And it's ready to be served. And there you have Kenny's hack for authentic tasting Japanese style ramen. Alright, so I am ready to dig in. So, itadakimasu. Okay, I'm gonna try the soup here first. Yeah, that soup looks excellent. Good quality for, using a hack. Oh yeah, takes me back to Japan. Now let's go ahead and try the noodles. The noodles are really smooth, silky as it goes down. Really good. It's the closest thing that I could find to pre-made noodles that tastes this close to Japanese ramen noodles. I'm going to try the char pork next. That is tender, meaty, has a good amount of fat on it as well, and it's just super delicious. So good. And when it comes to eating ramen, you may have seen Japanese anime, Japanese TV shows, or something on YouTube that a lot of people slurp their noodles like this. Now in Western cultures, that's kind of a taboo, right? It's considered bad manners. But in Japan and in a lot of other Eastern cultures, when you slurp noodles, that's how you make it taste better. That's how we say it. But you don't have to do that at home. This is how I eat the noodles, so it's absolutely delicious. Well friends, I hope you enjoyed today's recipe as much as I did and my daughter did. Please consider it a Christmas gift from Kenny, my special ramen hack that you can do at home. As for the special ingredients that I use, such as the dried kelp, the hondashi or katsuobushi, I'll find it on Amazon and I'll place a link down in the video's description, so please check that out if you want to try copying this dish. If you did like today's recipe, please make sure to drop a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you back at the canteen real soon.